Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and hopefully children of all ages, and welcome, hopefully, for the second time, because the first time the stream crashed. Welcome along to PSGL, welcome along to F6. My name is Mr. Evil Dragon. Joining me for the second time, and the third time I'm going to introduce him in the last many years, it's Quinn.
Yeah, it's good to be finally back in the commentary box with you, of course. Last time was a race in Canada that I seemingly can't even remember when it was, but yeah, it's good to be back in the commentary box with you here in a gloomy looking Portugal for round 7 in F6 for PSGL.
It is cloudy sky here above the countryside here in Portugal. A potential, a little bit of spit of rain, I thought, sure there. Now, I can't hear the audio of the cars. Now,
if you press the pause and then unpause it, it should fix
Aha! Cars, there you are. This game, absolutely beautiful, I must say. There's no faults with it, is there?
No, definitely not. Definitely. It's the perfect F1 game.
But yeah, no, I thought for a second, I saw a few spots of it. Maybe my eyes might be deceiving me, but first couple of cars warming their tyres up. Who is the first car on that time? It will be one of the Alfa Romeos. That will be Jerry RC, and of course
it's
sitting
it's
right
actually
now.
It's Cool Man. It's Cool Man in the Williams. I'm just on board with him now. This very tricky right-hander hairpin into the uphill left. It's very easy to lose it there. Down into the downhill braking, of course, very, very tricky. Takes the curb and it's very clean, of course. You want to take as much as that exit curb as you want. A downshift through the first right-hander, very, very tricky uphill right, and he seems to have it well here. Then to the uphill left, and then double right-hander. We may see some differing lines through here, as it's very clean. And then, as we hear from Lando in one of the previous seasons, it's like a roller coaster, and definitely looks like it on board. Going through this long sweeping right-hander here into the final corner. You want to stay to the inside, take the shortest line possible, as It's Cool Man does, and the first time on the board is a 1:17.2. Very solid lap there.
Yes, it is indeed. Behind him, we've got a few other cars. Of course, the car of Joey just spun a few minutes ago. In comes Marnix into the pit lane. Behind that, one of the Red Bulls up to the line. That is Janek, who was going pretty quick. Goes up to P2 then. So, first of the grid. Behind them, Payne is in third. So, a bit of pain for him. It might become Morlow. There he is, down to fourth from Kyle. Behind that, one of the Alfa Romeos. That would be, I believe, of Joey starting another lap potentially. Behind that, one of the Alpha Tauris crossed the line right now of Johnny, goes up to P2. Behind that, the Aston Martin might be of Nico. No, it would be Bufano on a out lap as well. I do want to say, by the way, if you have just joined us, I hope, of course, that you like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell as well. And, of course, if you are wondering, is any big news hit the world? Hugo Lloris has just announced his retirement for international football. So, end of a nice long career for the French captain, goalkeeper as well. So that's a shame to see. But meanwhile, Bruno on a good lap time in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, and just looking on at Leon, he's put himself P8, but it's not a representative time from him. Drops down to P9 with Slinky putting himself in P2, only just over a tenth behind It's Cool Man. We had a Haas cross the line, but I believe that was Nicholas Boyter starting a lap. Then we have a Red Bull 1 Elliott. Oh no, that is Yannick, who's just gone into the pits. Believe Trust Run is just starting his lap. Then we have a Ferrari and a Mercedes going down the main straight. That is Christian just starting his lap, and the Mercedes of Carl Scout has just gone into the pits.
Oh, Bruno through the last corner was purple. Isn't any purple anymore. And rear red, 2 months curb, round it goes into the pit lane. And, well, I mean, I suppose if there's any place to spin, it is, well, right in front of the pit lane, because you don't have to hold your head in shame for much longer. Behind that, his teammate Nico on a lap time as well. As long as he doesn't do the same mistake. Full throttle through the last corner. Keep it all the way pinned, all the way to the right-hand side. If you want, use as much ERS as you can. Plus line P2 then. Puts himself within 23/100ths of a second of provisional pole. So, nicely job from the Aston Martin driver. Whilst his teammate, of course, pointed the wrong way round. Christian, purple sector 2. Then he dives himself downhill. Very easy corner to lose the rear end. Again, another purple sector right there. Rise up the crest, of course, around this roller coaster of a circuit here in the coast of the Algarve, the Portimao circuit, as one Lewis Hamilton continues to call it. But here in Portimao, through down into the last corner on this circuit. Flat right king, over the crest, dip it down, then back up over the crest. Hold it to the right, and this should be good enough for around about second. If not, might be first. It's fourth, so 17.5 then. A couple of attempts off. In the end, behind lap, I believe you have one Elliott on a lap time. So not setting the timing screens alive, but normally that could mean absolutely anything. Because, as point proven, goes first.
Yeah, he's definitely someone to look out for. His qualifying pace has been really consistent, just been a little bit unlucky with his results. And someone who we have to really look out for as well is Nico, of course. Race winner in Monaco, so he's hoping to continue the good form into Portimao, and he's looking solid at the moment in P3.
There he is. Meanwhile, the other driver with Nico in his name, this isn't validated actually, exactly when I said he was purple, until I said something, but now he's no longer purple, so never mind. But like I said, yeah, Nico in the pit so far, one in Monaco as well, of course, one of our 4 different winners, I believe, this season. No, 5 different winners. Yeah,
5 different race winners. Of course, the only repeat race winner this season is the championship leader, which is Kart Racer 22. Of course, he's just on an outlap at the moment, so he hasn't been able to set a lap time. There is currently 7 drivers who have yet to set a lap time, and we're 8 minutes into this session.
Yeah, 8 minutes in, just over 9 minutes to go. It's under the 10-minute mark, as you can just see on your screen right there. But Payne then begins his lap then in the McLaren after not having much luck so far, but does turn 1 nice and dandy through there, down into turn 2 and 3, down into 3rd, up to 4th, up to the left, into 5th gear. Just hold the throttle a little bit, very easy to run wide through there, up to 6th, into 7th. Watch out, you might just tip into 8th and then down back into around about 3rd gear normally. Chuck the front end through here. Nice and stop for that. Purple sector 1 for the McLaren drive up. As you now rise the crest back up into, I believe it's turn 10 and 11 on this circuit. The one that every driver hates on the older F1 games, because you used to spin all the time through that. And that is just a fact. But it's a bit better on this game. You don't spin as much. Now up the crest, and then of course into one of my favourite but most evil corners, this one, because downhill, all of a sudden on the curb, very used to lose the rear end. He's proved that a lot better for me, up 6 attempts on his lap time, so should put him around about P5 roughly. This thing stands as he dives down into the last real corner on this circuit, and it is just one big continuous corner all the way through here, the final corner, which reminds me of such an old school types of circuit. Up to the line, and Payne hopefully going for around about 5th position, I'd say. There we go.
Yeah, very, very solid lap there from Payne. And just looking down to Slinky, I believe he's just going to be starting a lap here, as he did... Oh, Bruno in the other Aston Martin puts himself provisional pole, getting close to the 116 mark. So
yeah, meanwhile,
judging off this pace, it could be possible for a 116.
Yeah, I reckon we might see a 116 in a few moments' time, potentially. Kart Racer up to the line, and Kart Racer is in the... No, not in it. It was purple there, but obviously the game's decided no. Lost the rear a little bit, but only good enough for 9th right now. Thought he was going a lot quicker than that, but alas, he is not. But puts himself in P9. He would very much love to go again. One of the McLarens are getting out of the way, but a close qualifying so far. The top 4 positions separated by just over a 10th and a half. And of course, rest of the field just scooting down the back of the order. We've got Leon down the back. And of course, like you said, we've got a few yet to set a lap time. First up will be Joey, who is on a lap time right now. Don't know how competitive it is. The telemetry not showing anything because he hasn't set a lap time right now. I'm going to guess around about 4th. No, only 13th, and it is pretty close. I mean, 17.8, 4th is, what, 17.2. It's only, what, 6 steps. That is very close in the whole things of consideration, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. The top 10 separated by just under 7 tenths is very, very close. And judging by the representative lap times from 1st to 15th is only just over a second. So yeah, very, very competitive qualifying here on the coast of the Algarve.
Yeah, it is. We are just looking at, so we've got Trust Run on a lap time as well. We've got a few others on their laps, but on board with Trust Runs, he comes down the hill, a little bit over rotation through there, but gets the car all in a straight line. And around this circuit, what do you think of this circuit, Quinn? It's very much an elevation circuit. It is very much a roller coaster. Very easy to get yourself caught out as well.
Yeah, definitely very easy. You've got it's got obviously very, very big braking zones here in Sector 1 and the start of Sector 2 as well. Just at the end of Sector 3 as well, it's got 3, I'd say, heavy braking zones. And it's all about the traction and keeping your car in a straight line, because as I'm just looking at Lynx, I think he's on an in lap, but these 2 corners here are so tricky. You can very, very easily lose the rear of the car here. But in general, the track does produce some really entertaining racing, of course, with these types of circuits. In previous eras of F1, it would have been so difficult to follow. But now we're in this era where it's so much easier to follow. You're going to have battles that could last a whole lap, which is unheard of if you said it 2 years ago.
I mean, you say that, but then didn't I remember as Nico goes up to P1. There's the 16.9s, as we say. But I remember it was, I think it was might have been Raikkonen or Perez had a lap where we were just side by side for pretty much 90% of it around here in Portimao. But that was 2021, I believe. But that Aston Martin 1-2 so far. Where is our championship leader so far in the pits? Like we said, we've got a few drivers yet to set lap times, and I believe we've got Halat coming on a lap time right now. We've got a Test Run who, well, Trust Run, who was on a lap time until I said about losing at corners, and he lost it immediately as I said that. So apologies to the Alpine that spun. I like cursing Alpines. It's my favourite thing to do. So there's one of them. But to be fair, both of them still in good positions, all things considered, because they're both in the session still. Slinky down in 7th. Yellow flags, that will be for Nico. It's coming on and in that. We've got Janik on a lap time right now. I believe he's coming in the pits as well. So I think everyone right now in laps of some description. Like we said, clouds above us, cloudy. Is there a chance of rain in the session? Well, potentially. Is there a chance of rain in the race? I don't know. There could be. But we shall find out.
Yeah, I do believe Chris Hallett is actually on a fast lap, and he's just coming through Sector 3 now. It's been quite a solid lap for him of just being on board, and he's kept it very neat and tidy through all of the corners so far. Impending cast coming. Oh no, he's taking it good. Well, you want to try and take a short line as possible, and he's gone 10th with a 17.5, so not too bad. But he's only managed to, that lap is most likely going to be his only lap, so not sure if he's going to start in the top 10. Do have Joey RC also on track. I think he may be starting a lap. And yeah, most people will start coming out for their out laps, so Joey has only really got one car ahead of him, that being Nicholas Boyter, that could cause him a little bit of traffic. So he's timed it well. He's timed it really well to start his final lap.
Yeah, he certainly has. 2 minutes 40 on the clock. Like you said, last runs you'll get. Gets it nice in the track limits right there. Uses all the curb and a little bit more for good measure. He comes into the near flat right-hander, a little bit left on the exit as well, as you've got to carry it slow down in to the uphill right. Like I said, that's corner there, very low on traction, and, well, that proves the point directly because he's pointed the wrong way, and the Alpha Tauri almost collects him as well. But I was about to say that corner is very easy to lose rear end on traction. However, I think I've proved the point there, haven't I?
Oh yeah, Joey doing a really good job of proving your point, but of course, in 15th is Joey, and yeah, it's really unfortunate for him starting so low, and it's not really been a good session for the Alfa Romeos so far, with them being in 15th and 18th, of course. The Hasses as well. Marnik's retiring from the session, so he's going to be starting in last place, and we have Nicholas Boiter, who I believe is on a fast lap here.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see if he can improve his times.
Yeah, well, purple sector 1 then, so who knows, that could not be anything, it could be a lot in the world, but purple sector 1, like we said, comes out of the corner into the near flat right kick, leaves you have to left start in the exit. A bit of break actually for Nicholas as we come up to the dreaded corner that one car spun already. And this one gets through nice and dandy on the exit as well. As you rise, dip, and then rise again back over the other crest as well. He's now come into that right-hander, which is almost a blind apex. You dive down the hill as well. It's one of those corners where if you see a car suddenly stop, you've got really no chance to avoid it. Down we come then. Sector split was pretty good, so he's hoping only to get off the second back row of the grid. So hopefully get himself around about 13th, 12th. That would be kind of a mountain where he'd hope to be able to get himself up to. Maybe a bit more than that. But let's see up to the line. That's pretty good so far. As he crosses it, might be in the 16s, you know. 17-1 then, to put himself up to 4th in the end. So a stonking lap time for him. Behind him, the Alpha Tauri crosses line so far of Yoni. Goes up to P3. Behind that is one of the Alpines. That will be of Slinky. And Slinky's off in a big way. And into the grass, into the gravel. And Slinky's lap is absolutely done and dusted. Losing it through the last corner. Bunty crosses the line, I believe, right now. And he stays in 14th. I think he's beginning an outlap, actually. So, well, he was, but he's not anymore because he's now pointing the wrong direction. So that's his lap time over. Nico on so far Frisnell Park. He's invalidated. What about his teammate Bruno? And what's the sector split looking like for the other driver? Not looking purple, but he could be up by a couple of thousandths of a second. It's awfully close between the two Aston Martins as It's Cool goes in between them. Does it stay there? Not for long because Bruno on the front row of the grid by 2/100ths of a second. But does he stay there? A few others coming to the line. We've got Christian, I think. Come to the line. Lennox crossing the line, I believe, in the Ferrari. Stays 5th. Behind that, we've got a few others. Nico, who is not on a lap time. We've got Elliot on a lap time. He's not on one either. And I believe the others waiting. I think that might be actually everyone then. So, unless Bunty, no, he's invalidated. So it is Bruno by 2/100ths of a second compared to his teammate on the front row of the grid. Aston Martin lock out that front row. Williams on the second row alongside the Alpha Tauri, the constructors leaders of Alpha Tauri, but with Aston Martin 1 and 2 and Alpha Tauri in 4th and 14th. That's going to be a tall order to overcome. Of course, only 8 points separate them.
Yeah, just saw Payne. He was the last person on a lap and he put himself P9. So good showing for Payne, not so much for his teammate. And what I was talking about before, some teams not having the best qualifying sessions. We see the Alfa Romeos and the Mercedes down in the bottom 5, so not a good showing for those 4 drivers, hoping that in the race, whether it's dry or wet conditions, if those 2 teams can get it all going. So the qualifying results here, we have Bruno and Nico providing an Aston Martin front row lockout, which is something I never thought I'd hear in my life. And we have Coolman in P3, Johnny in P4, Lynx in P5 in the Ferrari, Nicholas Boiter in P6, One Elliott in P7, Kart Racer in P8, then Payne, Yannick Slinky in 11th, then Christian, Trust Run, Chris Hallett, Sem 12, Carl Scarrett, Bunty, Joey, Leon, and Marnix is the only driver to not set a lap time in this session.
Yeah, well, Sam, the other Alfa Romeo driver, they really didn't get a lap in 20 seconds off the pace for them, so that's going to be a tall order for them to come back into this one. Of course, they probably can do it pretty easily, but a little bit of a shock to that system potentially, but let's see what he can do in this race. It's a long race, of course, around here in Portimao.
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be a struggle for some people just because of the traction zones of this circuit, but it's going to be a very interesting race nonetheless. And just looking at the conditions from qualifying have carried over, and it's looking very, very doom and gloom out there. So potential for some rain in the later stages of this race could definitely spice up the strategy calls.
Yes, indeed. I believe formation lap is on, if memory serves me correctly.
I do believe it is.
I hope so. Well, we'll find out. If it's not, then we're going into it. If it is, then I guess we'll find out in a few seconds' time. But of course, like I said, if you are new to the series, if this is your first race, if I can get my words out, and don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell as well. I do apologise if I am a little bit rusty. First commentary back, of course, in a long time, but the lights go on. There is 5 red lights, no formation lap, and here we go. Aston versus Aston, lights up, and away we certainly go. A bit twitchy from a few cars at the back, but it is, of course, the Williams shooting through on the outside line, down towards turn 1, but up the inside, the Aston Martin, there's contact straight away. That's Mile out the Ferrari for up the inside of links, who gets a job done then. So it was Williams trying to go up the inside, but it turns out the Ferrari gets a pair of them off the start with a bit of contact between Nico and Co, and that could go into the stewards. I think he's letting him straight through. He is. Yellow flags at the back, and I think the two Haas have come a crop up with Kyle as well at the back. Sem dropping down a few positions, but they switch around there. One of the Alpha Tauris a little bit wider. That was Dale going side by side with Elliot, and Elliot sweeping around the outside right there. Is there a look back up the inside potentially? And there's contact, and round goes the Alpha Tauri. Doesn't keep the car going. Just about, yes. So what about the other car? Elliot remains in P6, but a little bit of a clumsy start there and a bit of a hectic for some. But I think, hopefully, we should start trying out a little bit. But so far, a bit of drama at the start of this race.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just looking at the tyre choices. Everyone is on the hards apart from Chris Hallett. So it's going to be a fairly standard strategy for everyone. But Chris Hallett maybe trying to take advantage of an undercut and just potentially trying to get himself in a good position come the end of the race. As you see, yellow flags in sector 3.
He's got. Is that a potential floor damage? You reckon? That's gone off really early. If that was contact.
Yeah.
So, that's looking.
Yeah, he's really spilling up his rear tyres now. He's just got to be careful when he's going in the pits.
There's going to be
maybe a retirement is for Marnix.
Or damage to the car that you can't repair. That's a shame to see. So contact, we believe potentially it might have been with his teammate. If not, it might have been with the Mercedes at the beginning of the race. We did see a few of them drop very suddenly down, but of course one retirement so far. Of course, your big winners out of this one, it is going to be, of course, Chris Hallett, up 7 positions, of course, the only driver on those medium tyres. So he's fired those ones up quite well. Other cars up a lot of positions, up 4 for Payne. There's a bit of battle going between Kart Racer and Christian. Kart Racer getting his elbows out ever so slightly. Is Christian going to think about Alonso back up the inside? Thinks better of it then. So the two Williams. The one Williams there, and of course the Alpine just ahead of him as well, with DRS, of course, next lap around to come as ETA Marnix now out, has completely left the session, which is a shame to see, but of course with floor damage you can't do a lot about it, can you?
No, it's a very, very difficult thing to deal with. And just on board with Kart Racer, he's getting very close to the back of the Alpine of Slinky. And of course DRS is now enabled. It is lap 3. We are 1/11th through this race. We've still got 30 laps to go, so stick around everyone. It's only just begun. We've still got plenty of action to go through this race and just looking at this train at the front of the grid. The front 7 cars are all within a tenth of each other.
They're all pushing each other.
So it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, Christian battling with Trust One as well. Trust One bad exit, and this might allow Yannick to go sweeping around the outside. There's almost a bit of contact. They come up the hill, up the inside he goes, gives him a bit of a squeeze. The Alpine's still there. Can he get the throttle on the exit? No, he can't then. Has to drop behind, so the Red Bull snatching one. I thought Trust One was going to get past Christian a few seconds ago, but Bravery Fortunes, though, on the exit, might have another look. No, still can't do it around there. Be brave to hold run around the outside of the long right-handers around here. Best chance, of course, with the DRS down towards turn number 1. With a bit of ERS as well. Let's see. Now, is he close enough? Both should have DRS, but he's going to have to force the initiative then. Which way? Left or right? He's going to go left then. Long way around the outside. Down towards turn 1. Is he going to brave it on the brakes? The Red Bull's still there on the inside. Around the outside with a bit of track limits on the exit as well. And I'd argue he might have to give that one up for an illegal overtake. But let's see. If he does get an illegal overtake, he'll probably pull out the way very quickly. If not, which he hasn't, so I'd rather say he's got away with that one if he doesn't get himself in trouble. Though track limit, a little bit violated right there, I'd say. Yeah,
definitely. Some track limits have been violated there. And I've just been sticking on board with Kart Racer, and like I said before I even started, with this track and new era of cars, you can stick very close to the car ahead of you, and Kart Racer has been in and around that 5/10 mark of Slinky for basically the last 2 laps, so it's definitely trying to stick as close as he can for this main straight. But Bruno
made a mistake, I think, on the curve, because he had a bit of a gap. Now he doesn't. Yellow flags behind. The other Aston Martin also off at the same corner. What has happened to the Aston Martins? Both of them now off spinning, and one dropped it slightly, the other one dropped it very much so. So what has happened to the Aston Martin team, who started this race first and second, now ends up second all the way down in 17th. No damage for Nico, but losing the rear end, something happened there. But what on earth has just happened there? They have imploded.
Yeah, it's looked so good for the first 4 laps, and then just as we got to the end of the 5th lap, or the 4th lap, it all just went horribly wrong. For Bruno losing the lead, and now, well, as you said, Nico down in 17th. So now it's a 6-car train at the front. There are gaps slowly starting to form as we see the first time penalty of the session going to Carl Scarrett in dead last. Hopefully he can get a little bit of momentum and get himself back onto this train from, well, Trust Run in 10th all the way down to Nicholas Boyder in 18th. We've got 2 massive DRS trains here, and this is what you can run into on a track like this. You just have DRS train central. If you can keep within the car ahead of you, keep within that 1 second mark,
yeah,
it's going to be very difficult.
The inside of turn number 1 gets himself up into 7th position. That was a move a long time coming to set the fastest lap of this race as well. So he is a man on a mission, already trying to pull a gap and try and see if he can get himself up into that top 5 positions. Behind him, like I said, you got Christian, Trust, Yannick, then we've got Bounty, then you got Leon, and then Joey, and then of course Sem. Behind that you got Yoni, Nico, Nicholas, and of course Kyle right at the back of this one. But up front, it is the Ferrari leading this field so far away, of course, after the mistake for 2nd position a few laps ago. But you'd imagine, looking at the ERS uses, that Bruno's saving his best right now. Not using much ERS, not using any of it, really. And he's thinking strategically long game. You know how powerful the ERS can be and how important it is to maintain it. So he's thinking long game, he's thinking strategy, of course. Hard tyres last until around about lap 20-odd. So that's when we believe we start seeing people potentially come in for the mediums. We might see people stretch out a bit longer, go for a set of soft compound tyres at the later stages of this race. But Normally, hard to medium at the best. This car race again, fastest lap of this race, and he is waltzing up towards the order. As up the inside, Chris Hallett gets alongside and passes one Elliott down in towards turn number 1 and 2, and there's another position then for the Alpha Tauri, demoted to Red Bull, who was battling earlier on, back down into 6th position. So Hallett on those medium compound tyres, slowly making his way through this field.
That was so close from one Elliott. So close to hitting the rear of Chris Hallett there, but he managed to get the car slowed down just enough to miss his rear end. That could have been a disaster for one Elliott and Chris Hallett there, but...
Stuck behind, by the way, Quinn. It's already a second. It's already a second down to Kari. He is absolutely flying around here.
Yeah, definitely. It's a very, very good race at the moment for him, and yeah, the pack at the front are slowly starting to separate from each other. As you saw, Coolman is right on the edge of being on that 1 second. I'm not sure if he's got DRS. He does. He did get DRS off Bruno, but he's teetering on that edge, and Slinky now puts in the fastest lap. Just going to keep aboard with Kart Racer as he gets over the yellow curb, and he just about keeps it on the track. And we see Sam and Joey fighting side by side. We saw them fighting side by side, and it looks like Joey still wants to keep on going, but of course, being in the middle of a DRS train is not where you want to be. You're going to be making no progress unless there's a mistake from a car ahead of you.
Yeah, it's certainly true. A mistake can throw everything into the spanner works. If you're at the back of the field, all of a sudden you can be at the front, because everyone can collect each other very quickly around here. Like I said, one pendulum tends to knock the rest of them around, and of course it's like a domino effect, as they say. One topples the other, and then absolutely everything happens and mayhem unfolds everywhere. But Yannick on the back of Trust Run, like we said, Kart Racer closing up just over a second, might get himself within DRS still yet of one Elliott, but that DRS train forming between those guys as well. And then, like I said, you got the guys ahead, yellow flags, and that is Trust Run, who I mentioned earlier on, is now finding himself plummeting down the order, and he finds himself all the way down in 17th position. That's supposed to back up the order again then. So the Alpine on those hard compound tyres finding a little bit no grip, but he'll get himself back into the run and into the flow again. Not too long as we look to see Nico thinking about a move on the inside of Yowie. No, thinks better of it. He'll be brave to shut one late up the inside of turn number 1. Low bit of track limits on the exit of turn 1, and now he goes up the inside into turn 3. Little bit of a dive, bit of contact, bit of rubbing, and you won't get away with that one because he gets squeezed out if he's not careful. Yeah, we don't get squeezed out. Now he'll have to come back up the inside, and he's going to get covered. Bit of contact down the straight between these two. No love lost between those. And the old undercut, bit of argy-bargy on the exit, a bit of rubbing and contact. And I think, finally, he's got ahead of him. A little bit of BTCC action there between the Aston and the Alpha. And all things considered, the end, the way they started. Though, to be fair, Alfa Romeo did race in the BTCC. Aston Martin never have, so I guess the Alfa Romeo knows how to do some rubber racing, though I suppose it's now an Audi. Technically, I suppose, Nelly, it's pretty much run by Audi now.
Yeah, 2026 is when it officially turns into Audi Sauber, I think it's going to be called.
Like it used to be BMW Sauber. Once Mercedes Sauber. They've got like the big three. Mercedes, BMW, and now Audi. So there you go. The big three Germans have all...
Just watching Payne at the moment as he's getting very close. He was within 2 tenths. So one Elliott actually managed to get himself back past Chris Hallett. So this battle between these two is actually kind of hindering them because they're just constantly losing time to the front 4. There is yellow flags, and that is Johnny spinning after going through turn 1. Maybe got onto that yellow curb at turn 1. And like you've said before, one thing can happen and it can completely change up everything. And well, it doesn't look like anything's really changed up apart from Johnny jumping to the back. But Joey is very close to not being in the DRS range as yellow flags. That is Johnny again Trust run, gets a 3-second time penalty whilst he's trying to catch Joey. And like I said before, Carl Scarrett he was 1.5 seconds back about 3 or 4 laps ago. Now he's half a second behind Nicholas Boyter, so he's got himself onto the back of the train, but it's not really a good thing because you're just going to be stuck at the end.
Yeah, needs to get a move on. Meanwhile, Bruno closing up to the leader, got himself under 5 tenths, almost down to 2 tenths now, so he's right within the DRS range. He's starting to push ever so small slightly now into the second round of DRSs then, this circuit. And not too far back to make a move from there, so further down the action, as you can see, the Ferrari through he comes, behind him the Aston Martin, then comes the Williams, the McLaren, then of course the Red Bull, AlphaTauri, Williams, and then of course the Alpine on the exit as well. Lovely camera shot, I will say, there from the game. Thank you very much. Nice long cam. There is Elliott, and of course, like I said, ahead of Chris Hallett, these two continuing with their squabble. You start to wonder, are low medium tyres starting to fade a tiny bit at this stage of the race, or compared to the hard tyres? Yes, they want the hard tyres now completely up to temperature. They do take about 5 or 6 laps, normally the best of conditions to get up to temperature. And of course, that's kind of the situation sometimes you find yourselves. It is, of course, a known thing on this game, as the hard compound tyres, if you stop from the mediums to the hards, you have no grip for quite a while until they warm up. Because you start on the hards, they are a little bit more warm, so you get away with it. And so it's always an option if you're going to go on the hards, just to start on the hards, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely is. It's a good tyre to get a long first stint in, and then you could potentially, you'll of course be ending the race on a softer compound, presumably with less fuel if there's no safety cars. And there is yellow flags, and I believe that is Johnny once again. It's been a very unfortunate race for Johnny so far, but I just wanted to point out that, well, Kart Racer is kind of struggling to get into the DRS range. I do believe he was about 9 tenths behind Chris Hallett, but now he's just teetering on the edge of the 1 second mark. And talking about Chris Hallett, he's gonna, I'd say maybe 2 or 3 more laps on these mediums and you'll be good to pit onto the hards and go to the end. And of course, these hard runners, some of them might push it to go to the softs at the end, but I think most of them will be going to the mediums, which I wouldn't be surprised to see them go to lap 23, 24 and put those mediums on.
Yeah, indeed, we certainly might start to find out in due course, but Kart Racer behind, he is within that a second again, so just holding on to the DRS. Like we mentioned, he is pushing that car to its limit. Further down the field, we've got Mercedes versus McLaren versus the other Aston Martin, who started up the front, found himself down in 14th, and Joey battling side by side for turn number 1 with Trust Run, and they come off just about in a good order. I thought for a second they were going to both be off the road then, because they were inside each other nearly then as they came through turn number 1. But somehow they both survive it, both of them with no ERS to fight with. But you look down to Nico, and this is a race of what could have been and should have been, isn't it, so far?
Yeah, it was a very, very good qualifying session from Nico, but it all just, both the Aston Martins making a mistake at the same corner, which is quite a rare thing to see, 2 drivers on the same team to make a mistake at exactly the same corner on the same lap. But of course, one of them came off just a little bit worse than the other. We have Bruno. He's been keeping Lynx very honest, sticking around that half a second mark as One Elliott puts in the new fastest lap of the race with a 1:20.5. And yeah, it's now an 8-car train at the front of the field as we see yellow flags. That is Johnny.
Yeah, that's Johnny again. He's really struggling in this car. He might have some floor damage that we cannot see, so he's just trying to carry on, might return the car, but of course hopefully not. We don't like seeing people retiring, but of course, like I said earlier on with Marnix, if you do get floor damage, it is basically a race-ending thing, because if it's anything more than light green, you are, is the international word, buggered, quite literally, aren't you?
Yeah, floor damage on this game, and especially rear wing damage, it just kills off your race. Unless you're very cautious, you won't be able to keep up the same pace as you did without the damage. But just as I was saying about Bruno sticking about half a second behind, is now 8/10 behind Lynx. Lynx has really been pushing, and there might have been a little mistake from Bruno in the lap.
With DRS,
yeah,
brings it back down, doesn't he? So,
yeah.
Truck Racer as well, flying along. He is now well within that gap. We said earlier on he was a little bit further back. Has he been waiting his turn a little bit for the car ahead's tyres to go off, potentially? Those medium tyres, like I said, 15 laps on. We're nearly half race distance. Lap 17 for Joey Pitts then, for, I presume, for a medium set of tyres. Is that not then? Looking down on the tyres, let's see, he's on the hard, so I can only imagine we're going to see a set of mediums go on that car. In he comes, set of medium tyres goes on, out he comes straight away, so on he goes then, and that is the first real stopper of this afternoon. So, let's see, so 17 laps-ish on those tyres, so it's all loaded up, not impossible, because we have seen we're on 15 laps for some of the drivers, so this could be quite an interesting end of this race. Hards versus mediums, all of them are going to be on the mediums, apart from the one that's going on the hards. So,
yeah,
I've got a feeling Chris Hallett's going to have to pull the bit between his teeth, isn't he? Because he's going to start to find himself in a real situation.
Yeah, I think Joey is kind of going to struggle, because he's going to have to do 19 laps. Yeah, he's going to have to do 19 laps on the mediums, and the sun has come out now.
And Joey's dropped it, I think, hasn't he? Immediately, he has dropped it. So,
yeah.
He's dropped it out the pit lane. Has he got any damage on his outlap? Don't think so, but a mistake straight away. That is going to put him well out of this race. The sun now shining here in the Algarve, then here in Portimao, as Lynx leads this field still just ahead of Bruno. Behind them, it's Cool in third from Payne and Elliott. Then comes Cart, then comes Slinky. Behind them, Christian ahead, of course, of Yannick. And then we got a bit of a gap down to the squabble of 10th, 11th, 12th and 13th position, who are all still stuck together like they were earlier on, but undercuts always quite present around here, and you'd start to wonder, and then probably around about lap 17 we'll start to see people dive in the pits, especially from these hard compound runners.
Yeah, definitely, and something I just wanted to point out that we completely missed. Chris Hallett has made a stop to go on to the hard tyres, so he's confident that, well, it's about half race distance now. He's confident they can take the hard tyres to the end, and well, they can theoretically last about 20 laps around here, so you shouldn't really have a problem with taking them to the end. It's just, what will he do? What will the other people do? As Kart Racer is just getting faster and faster on his hard tyres. Christian as well, going very quickly behind him. They're both 5th and 6th, and just going back to Chris Hallett, he's got a decent amount of clean air ahead of him, so he timed that pit very well. He's got 8 seconds of clean air, and we're seeing more and more people come in to do their pit stops. And I think Chris Hallett might have had a little bit of a mistake, because he's coming out behind Payne and Stinky.
Yeah, he's wondering if those tyres, they just didn't buy up temperature, because he was ahead of them, but now his tyres might be slightly up temperature, so let's see on the exit down here. Slinky, car ahead of him, should be a relatively easy manoeuvre then. They'll go straight to the left-hand side, and he's going to cover it, but up the inside he goes down in towards turn number 5. I think he's outbraked himself a little bit there. Does he get the car turned in? He does. Better traction on those hard compound tyres, though, just about. And I think he'll count his chickens there. He's got away with that one, because he went very straight on there. But, crucially, he is still ahead. So, all that ends well, I suppose, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very risky move there as Lynx comes in and Coolman. Oh, most people actually coming in now. So Bruno, He might have to pit next lap to cover this off. Of course, in this game, it's definitely overcuts are more favourable, I'd say, because you're going to be on a tyre like the hards. They're going to be very, very good for a longer period of time, hence the name the hard tyres. They're a little bit harder than the mediums and the soft tyres. We haven't seen any soft tyres yet.
Paid up the inside, and he's got to pass Elliot. I don't think we're seeing soft tyres at all in this race. Like I said earlier on, unless we get a safety car. But Elliot passed by Payne there. Good exit then, as Payne might have a little look then straight away at Cole. Is he thinking of a potential dive? Well, you're audacious. It'll be in the side pod of the Williams. But he might get a good exit though if he gets a bit of it. Used to be a race. He could try. No, can't do it down there. And like I said, it'd be brave to think the chuck one up the inside into these two. You could try up the inside there, but it's always going to end up one off, one not. And let's see, good exit through here. He's just sitting behind. Might think about the long way around the outside, up the inside. He's still there, up the inside. He'll go, then he'll send it then. Up the inside, the McLaren on the inside of the Williams. Has he got the job done? Side by side, down the hill. Into the left as they rise up the crest. And still, Williams and McLaren side by side. And they're going to fight this way then all the way around the corner, all the way down the hill. And the McLaren still just about up the inside. The Williams, though, not without a fight. Still trying to go around the outside. They're still neck and neck as they come down the hill. The McLaren finally has the better exit, but he will have the DRS. It's going to be the Williams then. So the Williams says, thank you very much, sunshine. That's mine. I'm coming back. Up the inside he comes. They're both going to fight with all the ERS they've got then. Down towards turn one. At the pit lane comes one of the other cars then. Of, I believe that was Kart Racer at the pit lane. Up the inside comes one of the Red Bulls now. Clouds into the McLaren. And the McLaren sent half spinning around nearly. I think he's caught it together. And now, all things end exactly like they were a few seconds ago. But Payne still stuck behind Cole.
Yeah, it's very, very good racing from those guys. And the fighting between Payne and Coleman for a basically whole lap was a blessing in disguise for one Elliott, because it's brought him right back into this fight for what will be a net P4 or net P3. Yeah, it will be. This fight is for P3.
Quinn as well, hasn't he? He's got ahead of him.
The overcut worked. Like I said before, the overcut is definitely more favourable, and with the hard tyres still being a good working window, it obviously worked out for Bruno. But Lynx is going to have one extra lap on these medium tyres, so he's going to have the overall pace. He's already right on the back even before the DRS activation. He puts in a purple sector 3 just because he can, and he gets the move done for a net race lead for Lynx. Very good overtake there, but we've got to keep our eyes on Bruno because we're getting up to the second DRS zone, but I think he's just dropped back a bit too far to be able to make a move. Yep, he's going to be trying to get a better exit than Lynx here, but he can't, and he stays in a net P2. But this is a good dynamic here happening. I've just noticed it's unfolding. Nico on 19 lap old hards. Maybe he's going to do a Perez-esque performance here at Abu Dhabi and try and hold up Lynx so Bruno can get a move done. If this is what's unfolding here, because Lynx is getting closer and closer, it might be... Oh,
he's dropped it.
Nico.
He's going to come right in the path of the other car. That's not worked, if that was what he was trying to do, because he almost dropped it in front of him. But, well, that's really not worked. I almost said that looked like a puncture, but there's no puncture on that car. Well, he's done, I suppose. I might have given him DRS. No, he won't have. So, well, that's rather done that one. Retiring from this race is Yoni then. In comes, presumably, Nico. No, doesn't come in then. So
he's getting closer.
He's going for the soft tyres, you'd imagine, then, is... Nico going to try and take a fast lap of this race potentially. So
yeah, the soft tyres don't really last that long around
25, I'd imagine 24 you want to be pitting, so we're not far off it. So you might go hard straight to the soft. We get a safety car around about now. That would certainly help his cause. But still a long way to go in this race. Still a heck of a little battle behind, of course, with Cole from Payne, from Elliott, from Kart, Slinky, then we got Hallett, and then behind that Bit of a gap down to Yannick, and then of course Christian Leon, and then Sam Bounty, and then a bit of a gap down to Nicholas Truss, Yoey, and Carly dropped it a few moments ago.
Yeah, Payne had a very, very bad exit going through that uphill right-hander, and One Elliott has snuck his way past Payne. Yeah, he's definitely feeling the pain now, but One Elliott, he's going to be trying to close up this gap to Coolman, but Payne is closer, and Kart Racer's even closer to the back of Payne, so it might be in even more pain by the end of, well, by the time they get to turn 1, because the red light is flashing for Payne. He has no ERS. Of course, Kart Racer's just keeping his cool, keeping himself patient, and he's going to be waiting for the right move, if there is one, the right time to make the move on Payne to get himself into P6, and that is Sam, who's retired in the pit lane. So that is the third retirement of this session.
Yeah, meanwhile, I've just noticed, by the way, the our captain Nico ran a very rapid pace. Nico could get himself in a bit of bother here if he's not careful, because he's got a lot of cars. This is rather him just saying, I'm not finishing well in this race, lads. We're just going to go and have some fun. His Payne turns his pain into agony as he gets himself a time penalty on top of that one, as ahead of them, there is Nico on those worn, dying, decrepit, hard compound tyres. And if there was any pace in that car, it's long since gone, and he's got a lot of cars now. They're going to vie for it. If I was him right now, I'd probably consider pitting, because I don't know if I want to get into this battle with that many cars. He might decide to, he might not have a choice to, but if I'm him right now, I'm going right into the pits right now. He's not. He could get a bit spiced then up the inside into turn 1. There is Coleman coming through behind Lem. It'll be Elliott, and then we've got Payne and Kart Racer to come as well, and it's only be a matter of seconds, you'd imagine, here for Elliott. He might think about a long straight away up the inside he goes then, and I think he's get out of the way of that one. And Nico has to hold station for the time being behind them. Payne trying to push his way through as well up the inside. He'll go, and they're all just, I think so far, they're all going to get away with it without any issues. So up the inside goes the McLaren. Back. And up the inside goes the Williams. And let's see, as the Williams get a good exit. That'd be brave around the outside through there. You don't normally see that one. Might try the old switcheroo up the inside. Low up the inside he goes. And through he goes, get a good exit as well on those tyres that are a lot better. Through he goes, and the Kart Racer putting on the kart manoeuvre on Nico on those dead tyres, I suppose, as well. It was a bit more of an easier manoeuvre than you'd imagine, but you can just see on the exit how much time he's losing, and now you'd imagine it's the time to pit.
Yes. In the space of a lap, yeah, he's letting people pass. I think he's going to be pitting for the medium tyres.
Joey out of this race on the circuit, and that's in the wall on the exit. That's the corner which you see. That's the corner where we dropped it in the qualifying, wasn't it? We got a car off as well, and that's Nico. And he got a puncture, I'm wondering, on those tyres. We just dropped it on his zone. No, so, Joey's retired on circuit, that's why. So he hasn't been there, he's retired on circuit. In comes Nico into the pit lane for a set of soft compound tyres. And, yeah, so I don't know if Joey might get himself in trouble for that one in terms of retiring on circuit, as Payne finds himself off the circuit. Yeah,
Payne has spun going up the left-hander in Sector 1. Is really, really unfortunate for Payne, because he was in this fight for P3, and yeah, I think he may have just got a little bit trigger-happy on the throttle. He's just got to be careful now and just getting those rear tyres back into a working temperature. It seems like he has, but yeah, it's just went from bad to worse for GSP Payne here. Yellow's in Sector 1, I believe that's Nico. Yeah, he pitted onto the mediums, and he's spun in the same place as Payne has. But yeah, looking back to the front of the field, it's just Lynx and Bruno, and then a 4-second gap back to his coolman. But One Elliott, he's going for a move. He gets it done, going down the inside. Will he make it stick? He does. He's got the fish helmet on.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a
fishies
good
are
luck
flying.
omen for him.
Yeah, the car behind's also got the fish. Everyone likes the fish. As cool that. Can't do a lot about it, and he's got to stay cool and try and keep moving right now. But as the clouds continue to part company in the sky, it's the Red Bull sliding his way through the exit of a corner, and this might allow him to come up the inside. Don't you think better of it there? And unlike Kart Racer, he did take the audacious dive into this corner. I don't think you're doing that on fresher tyres than you, and he doesn't sit back for the time being. Further down the field, by the way, got a battle still between Hallett potentially with Yannick, but Yannick still just ahead of him as you come to the closing stages now of this race, and it's a tale of two so far for one team. Aston Martin find themselves second, find themselves, I suppose, last of all the runners that will finish this race so far. And Bruno needs to get on with it as well. He's got a lot of ERS to spare, but again, he's just doing what they do, of course. Around here, just wait your time, wait your patience, strike at the last really couple of opportunities. So around about lap 30, if he's not doing it, he'll pile on the pressure then. Still in the south of a safety car as Yannick and Hallett go squabbling through turn number 1, and neither of them making it through turn number 1 in the correct direction, as out of this race is Payne. He's retired in the pit lane, so another retirement out of this race as well.
Yeah, just still on board with this battle for P7 between Yannick and Chris Hallett. Chris Hallett is getting dangerously close on 24% ERS, but Yannick is below that 10%, so the red light is flashing on the back of his car. Nico actually puts in the fastest lap of this race with a 1:19.0, and that is Payne coming out of the pit lane, his retired car. And, well, going back to the front is still Bruno and Lynx. The gap has actually pulled out now to 4.5 seconds. And just going back to Kart Racer, he is coming on to the back of his teammate, it's cool, man. He does have more ERS than both of the drivers ahead of him, so Kart Racer might be looking at a potential podium here, which would be very good for the championship leader in keeping that lead in the championship. And I'm not sure what this will do for the constructors, but you have to say it's a very strong performance by the Williams drivers.
Yeah, it certainly is. Williams, who come into this race so far third in the championship, only 11 points off the cars ahead, so it will bring them certainly in with only really one of both the other manufacturers in the point scorers, of course, that being the Aston and the AlphaTauri, the other Aston Martin in 15th for the other AlphaTauri out of this race. So it's going to bring them in a little bit. Let's see what they can do later on, but this race still far from over, especially for your race leader, who finds himself 4 attempts behind. Still within that delta, and it might be 4 seconds, but you might start wondering, as out this race, talking of the Aston Martin, now both of the teammates of the other cars out of this race then, so out comes Nico, got the fastest lap, and that was as good as he wanted it, and is promptly retired, down to 14 runners now, so things looking a bit better for them, as here we go, DRS still again for the race leaders, as down towards turn 1, still not close enough, still not using all of the ERS to play with either, so is he just playing a bit of a toy game with Bruno as well as Coolman ahead of his teammate, and you'd wonder, are these two potentially going to swap positions if they can't keep their lines and keep themselves in the order? Will we see them potentially swap around for the championship?
Yeah, I was just looking on board with Bruno, and coming out of, I believe it's turn 4, he had a little bit of a moment on the exit of turn 4, the uphill left-hander, and now he's finding himself about 9 tenths back, so he really has to work to stay within this second. He's really having to put the work in now, and if he can stick behind close enough to get the DRS on the main straight, he's going to put himself right back in it, but that little mistake has, don't want to say cost him, but definitely put a dent in his chances of getting a race win here.
Yeah, Jinx comes into this race, best scores of a podium in round 2 in 3rd position. Hasn't had her best since then. Finds himself so far leading this race here in Portimao with just over 4 and a bit laps to go. Further behind as well, Elliot, Cool, and Kart Racer is really looking at his teammate now. Fought for a second up the inside. He's forced his teammate too deep, and now the two teammates, then the two Williams, are going to do some slight battle, both with DRS and Kart Racer, I'd imagine, weaving. Let me through, he says. I'm going for second, he says, or third at least, if he can. And his teammate, holding station, holding line, is not giving an inch right now, and he's frustrating his teammate, and this could boil over as Yannick picks up a time penalty of 3 seconds. In terms of the penalties, by the way, this afternoon, looking at them quickly, we've got 6, 3, 3, 3 and 6 then, so not too bad, all things considered, but it's quite crucial to see who is doing what. And I tell you what, so far, and the Williams are starting to potentially implode.
Yeah, we're getting a multi-21 situation here, of course. People who have watched Formula 1 for a long time will know what happened with that, and yeah, it's really it needs, Kart Racer really needs to get past its cool man, because championship leader in 5th at the moment, do believe the closest competitor to him is one Elliot, and he's currently in 3rd, albeit there is about 8 points, I believe, separating the two drivers.
9.
Even a 2-place better off position for one Elliot. It's good points gained, and as we see, Leon might have been contact between himself and Bunty. Not quite sure, as I wasn't on board with it, but Leon has found himself some 8 seconds behind Bunty now, and he has Nicholas Boiter in the Haas pestering him now in the last few laps of this race.
Yeah, indeed, down to 5/10 of a second, yet again for 1st and 2nd as well. It's closing as we head to this final stage of this race. It's time to get in your seats, because any second, absolutely anything could happen. We're still a bit too far back, potentially for a lunge down towards turn 1. Both of them pissing though with VRS.
It's really close.
He'll close up down to 3, down to 2, temps down to 1/10 of a second, but not enough to closing. Yinks a little bit wide at turn 1, but holds the island on. Behind them, Kart Racer dropping back a little bit now from his teammate, so I think he's just going to sit there for the time being. Cool man, still trying his best to get a past, but can't do a lot about it then on Elliot, who's just got the bit between his teeth as well. Is the top 2 now, 4 attempts to separate. Getting closer all the time, as we now head, of course, towards the penultimate lap of this race, as Leon has dropped at the entry of turn 1 before. He's dropped it left in towards turn 1 on the brakes. What's happened to Leon there? So something's going on for him. So that's a weird place. I've never seen a car off like that, unless he's had contact coming into the corner and he's avoided the wall just about. But if you're Bruno right now, you need to be within 5/10 of a second, and you've got a good shout down towards turn 1. That gap, 6/10 of a second, down to 5, up to 6/10 of a second. He's pressing on ever so slightly more, but it's just on the limit. If he gets DRS, he might get close enough. Lap 32 then of this race. Is he close enough here? Down towards turn 1. He's closing. Isn't closing hard enough, but he needs to get on with this one then. He needs to get on with it. He is coming closer and closer. We're going to have a one-lap standout shoot of a finish there between these two drivers. Ferrari versus Aston Martin. Yellow flags behind, as that is Slinky, who's dropped the car, and he finds himself down in 7th, battling with Hallett yet again. But we'll keep the eyes on the top 2, because this is where all eyes are looking at then, and it is, of course, Bruno, who is stuck there, trying and pushing. He's got more pace, he's got more ERS, he's got almost just over double it as well, as Hallett does get past Slinky, meanwhile, down there for 7th and 8th, so a switch between those two, but that gap, like I said, needs to be under 5 tenths of a second. If he wants to get that position, he needs to burn a bit of VRS into some of these corners and just then absolutely throw hammer to blow, but a mistake through that. And that might prove decisive then. A bit of a mistake. Now 8 tenths of a second. Now 9 tenths of a second. Now back down to 7. And is that the opportunity that he was looking for? Go on. And Lynx now surely has the opportunity now to win this race.
Yeah, it was looking so good. He was getting closer and closer. He would have had a very good opportunity to get the overtake done on Lynx here. But just that slight error has potentially cost him a race win here, but all is not lost as he's still gaining, and well, he's still got plenty of VRS to play with compared to Lynx.
He is absolutely flying.
He's really pushing, really wants this race win here. And just looking further down the field, it doesn't look like there's any closer battles apart from Kart Racer on the back of his teammates, so we'll stick on board with this battle for the race lead. Coming down to the last couple sectors, the last few corners here, and this is part of the track where Lynx has been considerably more consistent and has had more pace than Bruno, and well, it looks all but done here unless there's a miraculous mistake here from Lynx or something, but just it's been such a good race for the two of them. But coming on board with Lynx, he's led right from the start. Lynx wins the race here in Portimao. Bruno in P2, 3 and just under 4 tenths behind. One Elliott comes home in P3. Kart Racer and Coolman 4th and 5th. Yannick in P6. Chris Hallett crosses a line. Actually jumps Yannick into P6. Slinky is 7th. Yannick finds himself dropping to P8. Christian 9th. Bunty in 10th. Then Nicholas Boita will be in 11th with just run half a second, which turns into 3.5 seconds behind. And we have Leon doing a little 360 across the line. And finally Kyle Scarrett, who actually pit for soft tyres, so maybe going for a fastest lap attempt here. Of course he wouldn't get an extra point for this as he is outside the top 10.
Let's see, can
so
he get on
just wait and see if he does.
Up to the line, and the answer is yes, he does get the fastest lap of this race at the end then, so good indeed. So 14th for Carl, but does get the fastest lap at the end.
Yeah, it's a very, very action-packed race here, of course, with the Aston Martin starting on the front row. Really unfortunate what happened to Nico and eventually retiring himself in the pit lane, but Bruno really showing his quality. Qualified in P2, stays in P2. We've got a little gritty here from Lynx as he wins the race, and I do believe that might be another different race winner that we've had. It is another different race winner, so we've had 6 different race winners in the first 7 races here. It is so competitive here, and no doubt that race win from Lynx will jump him up a few places, I believe. So yeah, do you want to run us through the race results, Liam?
Yeah, indeed then. So Lynx then on the top step of the podium, from Bruno in 2nd, Elliott in 3rd, from Coolman in 4th. Kart Racer in 5th from Chris Hallett, a fine studded P6 for him. Then Slinky, Yannick, Christian, Bunty. Behind that we've got, of course, Nicholas from Trust. Then we've got Leon, Kyle in 14th. And of course Nico, Payne, Yoey, Sem and Yoni, and Monix all out of this race. And if you had to give her a drive of the day, I'm going to have to say Lynx, his first victory of the season, goes to him.
Yeah, I actually give mine to, well, if I had to give one, I'd give it to Chris Hallett. Starting 14th, making up 8 positions, go for the alternate strategy, although It didn't probably get the result they wanted to. It's still very solid to make up 8 positions from qualifying to the race. So if I had to choose the driver of the day, I'd give it to Chris Hallett.
Indeed, but I'll let you round things off.
So yeah, next race will be in Spa. So I think my regular commentary duo of Smith Hardenov, aka Salim Haddad, will be back with me in the commentary box, I'm hoping. So yeah, this has been myself and Evil Dragon, aka Liam New Media, and yeah, it's been very good being back in the commentary box with you. Hopefully in the future we can get back in it once again, because I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
Well, thank you very much,
Indeed. So we'll see you next Monday for round 8 in Spa. So we'll see you later.
Yeah, and thank you very much for everyone for joining me here on my first commentary back for quite a little bit. Of course, to apologise for any rust. But anyway, I've been Evil, Quinn has been Quinn. Until next time, take care and goodbye.